Jenny wanted me to show you guys how to put one of these boxes together and show you the materials needed for the planter box. First, here's a finished product. I put 5 together and finished them yesterday, but here's what the end product looks like. One thing you'll notice is the galvanized metal on the outside of the box frame. The inside is, this is plywood wrapped in 6mm poly to protect it from dirt and also keep the dirt from pushing the galvanized metal out. So you need this interior plywood to protect it. The materials needed: 2x6s, 2x4s, 1x1s, plywood and 6mm poly, and also the galvanized metal. For the short ends of the box, they're 48 inches wide and 18 inches. I have the 2x4s cut to 18 inches between the two 2x6s. So I've got 2 short sides for the box. And then for the long sides, these are cut to 72 inches long. And again, the 18-inch 2x4s for the height. The plywood, very simple. I use the black 6mm poly and cut the plywood to 2 feet wide. And then of course, just showing you here, I mean, just simple stapling the poly, cutting the poly to size and then stapling it around the plywood. And then finally we have the galvanized metal that I'll show you how to cut these when we get to it, but I use a metal cutting blade with a skill saw and just cut these to width as well. All right guys, so I'm just simply doing a toenail in each corner of the frame to tie it together. Pretty rudimentary, but it's not going to be solid yet, but I just need it to stay together. So simply I'm just putting a screw in 45-degree angle to tie the boards together, and that's it. So pretty easy to do. You want to put a lot of pressure on the board, make sure you don't get any slippage. There you go. Those two are tied together. I'm just going to do that for each frame all the way around. All right, I got all the frames tied together. Now it's time to put the box together itself. So this is where you need these pieces right here. And the 1x1, I cut this to 28.5 inches long. It's just slightly shorter than the top and bottom of the box. And I did that on purpose because I don't want it to overextend. And that's pretty important for a step later on. But just to show you how it's going to go together, first I'm going to screw this in to the very end of the short pieces, so it's right up to the end of it, and then I'm going to tie the pieces together. When this is already screwed into the short piece, I'll screw the long side of the box to the short side through here as well. So we'll get to that step next. All right, now that the frames for each side is all put together, we're gonna tie each side together now. Notice the 1x1 screwed into the short side. Simply, it's gonna tie into the long side, and I'm gonna put 3 screws in. You want to make sure the top is flush so it's even, because we're going to be putting a border on top, like over here on one of these boxes. You see the 2x4s on top. That's going to frame it up real nice and dress it up. So you want this to be as flat as possible so you don't have any wobbly 2x4s on top. And now that the corner piece is screwed into both sides, it's pretty sturdy. I'm just going to do the same thing on the end here. That'll finish the box. After that, we're going to stain, because you want to stain before you actually put in your sheet metal. Otherwise the sheet metal will get full of stains. And you guys don't need to stain this if you don't want to. I'm using exterior deck stain that's black, and I can't even read what the brand is. I think it's Sherwin-Williams. But anyway, just leftover deck stain that we had from the house. Okay, now we have the box in place. What I use is just at Home Depot or Lowe's. You can buy these bricks. I'm just using the bricks to level it out. We got the box all level. The next step is to put the sheet metal in. So we want to make the cuts, but first measure between these corner pieces on the inside of them. So I have 45.5 inches on the ends. So I'm going to cut my my sheet metal to 45.5 inches wide, and they are 2 feet. They're 2 feet tall. So we'll do that next with our skill saw. I marked out with a Sharpie on the sheet metal where 2 dots where I want to make my line, my measured line. I just want to make sure that that's all lined up, and I'm going to draw a nice straight line all the way down as my guide. You notice I put my sweatshirt back on because there's a lot of shrapnel that flies, and you can actually start bleeding from the metal shards that start flying through the air. So definitely jeans and long sleeve shirt, glasses, really important. So here we go. Just screw the sheet metal in, and I'm using 1.5 inch wood tight sheet metal screws. They have a little rubber washer on the end, so it makes it watertight as well. That doesn't really matter so much for this, and you also have to make sure that you have your special bit or piece to go in to screw it in with. And if you're doing this on your own, don't have anybody to help you out with, the first screw that goes in, I just use a hammer. Nail it right in. That's gonna hold up my piece. Notice I've got it up a little bit. You want to make it so that your middle line is where you want it, and that's where I want mine. So I'll just screw this in. Then you want to make sure it's nice and level, and then you just screw around. I put 3 screws up top, 1 in the middle on each end here, and then 3 on the bottom. So basically it's 8 screws per sheet. Next step, once we get all of our sheet metal up, is to put our 6mm poly wrapped plywood on. So the plywood is going to go on as our protective barrier and to keep the dirt from pushing the metal out. So it's just simply, we want to put this up toward the top and screw it in on all sides. We're going to do this all the way around the box, so we have a nice interior ready to go for dirt. Last step is just the top border. That's it. I'm just using pressure treated 2x4s for the top, and of course we'll stain these after we're done. But I'm just cutting 45-degree angles all the way to the edge, and I'm just keeping it flush with the outside of the box so that it has some overhang on the inside, and blocks out this this plywood. And I'll mark where my other corner is going to go. We'll just go all the way around and do the same thing and screw them in, and then we'll stain it. That's the end of the box. One final step I like to make is just to even off the whole top with the disc sander, so like to round the corners so they're not sharp edges. Okay, final step, stain the top, that's it. So get it done. Garden box is done. Time to fill it with rock and dirt. So basically our plan is, you notice that we stripped all the topsoil off of this area, out of this area, and put it in the middle here. So that's, Emily had gardens already before, And that's all this dirt is. It's fertile soil, but we also have a lot of junk soil that we scraped up as well. So I'm gonna put the junk, first off, put a layer of rock up until to about here. That'll help with drainage, and then put the junk soil on top of that, and then put the final topsoil on top of that amount. So I'm gonna come up to about probably 5 or 6 inches below the top of the box and level it all off with dirt right here with the topsoil for a good garden base for Emily, and she'll be planting from there. So that's how we're gonna do it. All right, this is it. Just added all the dirt, so it's about 6 inches below the top of the bed and ready to go. That's it. Thanks, guys.